The party
Guy
was lame to me.
Fieri.
Fieri.
That's the fun.
Yeah.
So they're trying to track him down. Mora's at the party.
I just want to say, you are never allowed to pick the freaking theme for anything again. Okay. Albuquerque, fire truck. We're just yelling out words now? What's going on here? Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of BS Drunk Movie Reviews. This is a weekly podcast, and we do upload the video version of this to our YouTube channel, so be sure to check us out there. My name is Matt, and as always, I am being joined by my sister, Vetta.
Hello.
Hey, you. How you doing?
Living the dream.
The
alcohol here is making it a better dream, but
Ain't that the truth? All right, on this episode, our special guest is Stupenzo. Stupenzo, how are you doing, dude?
Great. Busy weekend, hanging out. I just ate McDonald's for the first time in a while. That was
What'd
weird.
you get? What'd you get? I love
Apparently
we're
they
gonna
have
live
a
vicariously through you because
I don't eat McDonald's.
right. I don't either. But I got. I realized recently that the double quarter pounder is different beef they use. It's a better burger. And then on top of that, they have the double quarter pounder deluxe now, which is basically a regular cheeseburger with lettuce, onions, tomatoes, all that stuff. I was like, what?
Yeah, and they charge you $50 more.
yeah, it's like $10 a meal, whatever. Fast food is just awful. It was either that or like quickly make something, which is it was riskier.
No judgment. It's not that I wouldn't eat it. It's I literally can't eat it because I'm gluten free and everything there has gluten in it. So I go to McDonald's for the best thing on their menu, which is a Coke. So.
Well, yeah, they do got good Coke there. I also, I don't know. It was one of those things where I could have risked it and gone to Waffle House or something, but
right, that would have been a new experience, another experience. All right, well, you guys, on this episode, we are going to be reviewing the movie Howard the Duck, and I'm excited to do this. Stupenzo, you picked this movie. But before we get started on reviewing the movie and talking about it, we are going to ask the most important question of the night, and that is, what are you drinking? And Stupenzo, since you're our guest, we'll ask you, what are you drinking for tonight?
Tequila and water, some tequila grog, basically.
Nice. Vetta, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a fluffy duck.
Nice. What's in a fluffy duck?
So a fluffy duck has this stuff. It looks like custard to me, but it has Advocate, cream, white rum, so Bacardi, and then triple sec and lemonade. Then you're supposed to put whipped cream on it, but the whipped cream has melted, and all it reminds me of is when Howard's being pulled through the apartment out into space is the duck boobs,
we're going to talk about that.
I wish I could tilt it so you guys could see it because it was nice little dollops, and now they're like shrunken, which is the little tops of the dollops pointing up. I'm like, oh, I'm so immature that I'm sitting here going, it looks like duck boobs now.
Right on. All right. Well, I am having what's called a cherry bomb. And it is because that's the name of the band, the Cherry Bombs. So it is lime soda, rum, grenadine, lime juice, and then it's supposed to have maraschino cherries and a lime. And then for a backup, I have beer, which I have Budweiser because they have that in the thing.
My backup because
what is your backup?
I have a Mike's.
Yeah, Duckweiser. I couldn't find that, but I did find Budweiser, so I grabbed that. Okay. So now Howard the Duck, you guys. Oh, crap. I need 2 more seconds. I forgot to grab the synopsis of this movie to read it out. Little idiot. All right.
Funny.
I have to edit this out now. Hold on.
Duck tits. That's the synopsis.
Right on. All right. So, Howard the Duck. In this film, based on the comic book character, Howard the Duck is suddenly beamed from Duckworld, the planet of intelligent ducks with arms and legs, to Earth, where he lands in Cleveland. There he saves a rocker, Beverly, from thugs and forms a friendship with her. She introduces him to Phil, who works at a lab with the scientist Dr. Jennings. When the doctor attempts to return Howard to his world, Jennings instead transfers evil spirits into his own body. Now, I wanted to ask a quick question. When was the first time that you guys had seen this movie? Stupenzo, when was the first time you saw this movie?
I grew up watching this movie. It was one of those movies that my dad had gotten like a free trial membership to subscription for the Disney Channel and Showtime, and just recorded a shitload of VHS tapes on slow play,
Right.
with 5 or 6 movies on each tape. And Howard the Duck was one of those movies that I had on a home recorded pirate tape growing up, and I remember watching it until like the tape wore out. And it really wasn't until like I was in high school where I revisited it, and this movie's so awesome. It's one of
It
those
is
movies kind of like Chappie, where like everyone says it's terrible, and I watched it a few times, and I'm like, what's the problem here? Why do people don't like this movie? I love
Right.
it.
I love this movie too. Vetta, when was the first time you saw this movie?
I am pretty sure that we seen it on from renting it from Blockbuster as kids. I think I was probably 11 or 12, like that middle school age. God. And it was one of our movie night movies and you remember growing up, Friday nights were pizza and movie night. So yeah, and I've grew up with it. My kids have all seen it. I mean, we love this movie. What's not
Right
to
on.
love about Howard?
That's a great question. I was just gonna say I remember seeing it when I was a little kid, which was a million years ago. Okay. So Howard the Duck. All right, you guys. So this movie starts out, which I think it's great. I watched this movie with my kids, so it was interesting to see their take on it. But this intro, we're on his little duck world, right? And his duck world is shaped like an egg. I love that part of it. I was like, I didn't notice it until I rewatched it and everything. Okay. So he gets sucked off Duckworld, okay? But while he's getting, sorry, I didn't mean to let that came out right.
I was like, wow, we watched different movies.
well, speaking. Okay, so while we're on Duckworld, right, we get him coming into his apartment, right, and he has a message on his phone from some woman that wants to,
wants a hookup.
Yeah. And then we also get like his parents or whatnot, want him to come over or whatnot. And then I love when he turns on the TV, and we get all of these different like commercials. My favorite one was the TV guy that's all like $79.95, $35.95. Our prices aren't crazy; they're insane and everything. And then and I'm kind of just going through it, and we'll talk about it in just a second and everything. But then he gets teleported off the planet, and he goes through the wall and everything. And why don't we go ahead and talk about this? So Stupenzo, what did you think about this opening scene where he gets transferred from Duckworld to Earth?
I mean, it's such a great way to really like shove in as much ridiculous world building touches as possible. There's so many blink and you'll miss it type parodies and stuff all over the apartment, and you kind of just get the basic message that Howard is kind of just a run of the mill kind of guy. He had like his better days are kind of behind him. He's got like a rock kind of star history. There's that picture of him like with like all hippied out in like a big weed farm, in the 70s, and he's done things. He's had life. He's kind of winding down, and then out of nowhere, his chair levitates and he gets sucked out of a beam into space. And like the narrator tells us, there's like infinite worlds out there with infinite possibilities, and so this whole duck world thing is so bizarre, but they do so much just letting you know about what kind of world he lives in the first like 5 minutes. It really is effective, as silly as it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Vetta, what about you? What did you think about this opening scene? Was there anything?
I thought it was great. The only negative critique I have is that it looks it's very 80s. And I get that at the time in the 80s, it was the 80s. But do you think if there are multiple universes and multiple planets that their 80s is the exact same style as our 80s type of thing? I just wish they would have made it a little bit different. But that's my only critique. Otherwise, I love it. I love that he's got a bowling trophy, that he was on the cover of Rolling Stones when he had his band. And then when he's ripped through the building and you get the street view, and it's just like people are like, well, you don't see that every day, like
Yeah.
it's the same kind of thing as if you were to got in a big city. I hate the fact that he ends up in Cleveland. Nobody fucking goes to Cleveland,
Yeah,
but
Cleveland. Ugh.
that's a whole different situation.
Right on.
What about you?
Oh, no, Stupenzo, what were you gonna say, dude?
Well, that makes it more terrifying, honestly, the fact that there's like a duck George Washington and a duck version of everything, because it means like it's kind of like in Terminator, how like you can't change the future, it's all like on some ordained destiny. And the idea that like, oh, the duck world is like so similar to ours is like, that'd be alarming to find out.
The similar thing doesn't bother me, but it's like, you can't go to the same countries on our planet and they're going through the same things. Like they don't have the same styles and they're not going through the same trends in every
Right.
single country. So I'm kind of like, they definitely wouldn't be going through the same trends on another planet. I mean, they would have money. I love that they have a duck on the dollar bills. I love that they have driver's
Finally.
license and credit cards and
Yeah.
everything.
My
And I
favorite
love
is
that,
the
he's
there's-
totally got the 80s TV and everything. So it's just,
yeah. I love the random black duck who's like dressed all hip hopper outside,
Right.
and he's like, "What's going on?" It's just so hilarious.
or the football ones, and they're talking about having jock itch and
Yeah.
They have
the
like
feather
flat tops,
fungus.
They do have flat tops. Yeah, no, I love this scene. I love that. I love that he pulls out a play duck and everything. And like, they didn't even show anything in the play duck, and I was like, ugh, true to form. It's like,
But I love how he's all like, "Oh, look at your perfect airbrushed body."
yeah, and everything. And then of course he gets pulled through, and we see the duck titties and everything. Now I have to be honest with you, I thought they were pretty nice for duck titties. I was like, oh, they're pretty.
Obviously,
ahead.
fake duck titties.
Obviously, because aren't they? Well, sometimes the fake ones are nice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love that, and then I just love how he's just like floating through space, and he's not dying because
or
reasons.
falling off the chair.
Yeah, so I did love it and everything, and I'm just like, how far did this little thing transport him, and how long did it take? Because I'm just like, but I did love that. I did love this opening.
Well, you didn't age, and the style didn't change, so
That's
it didn't
true,
take
that's
that
true.
long.
That is
Yeah.
true.
And I love the big triumphant score, the theme he's got, and then there's the narrator with his big echo voice, Howard the Duck, it's like this movie's taking itself seriously. This is crazy.
Yeah. Which was, I have to admit, I thought it was nice because I was like, okay, yeah, they were maybe they thought this was like their next big thing. They're like, this is the blockbuster, you guys. Okay,
Yeah.
so
This is a franchise for sure, guys.
for sure.
Yeah,
So
not joking. George Lucas did he just bought Skywalker Ranch, and he was hoping this movie would like recover the losses, and it didn't. So he had to start selling assets after this movie came out.
That's so funny. Okay, so he lands in an alleyway, all right, and he's right by a bar where Beverly is performing with the cherry bombs and everything, and I love the guy that picks him up, and then he takes him over, and I don't remember the guy's name, but he's like, hey, we finally found you a date, and he hands him to this like nerdy guy, which I'm like, the nerdy guy didn't look that nerdy, but I'm like, okay, maybe he's just a big weirdo, and then I love the bouncer that comes up, and he's like, I can spot a kid in a costume. You're out of here and everything. And I'm all like, what?
And the guy's like, wait, that's my date.
My date. And I'm all like, don't be weird. That's why you don't have a date, because you're weird. And everything. So then I have to admit, every time Beverly and the Cherry Bombs were on stage singing their little song, their little tunes, I loved that whole part. I loved everything about it. I loved their look. I loved their jams and everything. It was super fun.
Yeah, it's a bad sign when you're playing at a venue, kind of like at Roadhouse, and your stage is behind like a chain link fence.
Exactly. Yeah, because those people might get just too rowdy, with their lesbian biker gangs and everything. So go ahead.
The music is probably like the big highlight of the movie, not just the Cherry Bomb songs, which they're technically a real band. Like they're really like singing and playing their instruments. Not for the the shooting, but like for the soundtrack. And Thomas Dolby from Dolby Sound, She Blinded Me with Science, he wrote all the Cherry Bomb songs.
That's really cool.
And then John Barry, who did the James Bond theme and Dances with Wolves score, he did the score to Howard the Duck, and the score is like amazing. It's way better than it deserves to be. The soundtrack is just such a great blend of like that 80s kind of pop songs and this really awesome like traditional movie score.
Right on. Okay, so then Beverly, so they finish their set, and while they're going on, they have this great little montage where Howard Lee gets kicked out of the club, and he's running around the streets around this club because he gets attacked by a lesbian biker gang. He's swinging from chains and shit and everything, and he's being attacked by homeless women, and he finally ends up in this barrel. Okay, where he's like, screw this, I'm going to sleep, and I'm like, Howard, maybe now is not the time to take a nap. Okay, you're on a strange planet with alien creatures. Maybe you should just chill. Okay,
And you look like you're in a heap of garbage. Where
right?
you just
Exactly.
decided to get into a barrel.
Right. So then Beverly, she's coming out of the club, and she is harassed by two fans, if you will. And I'm not gonna lie, even though these two were trying to assault her, they were fun because they're like, hey, sign my shirt, and the other one's like, sign my shorts. I'm like, what? Get out of here. And I love how she's all like, she's like trying to fight them off. And what was up with the one that kept saying, hey, don't be a snot nose? And he's like, come here, you little snot nose. What does that mean? What is that even about? I'm all like, is that supposed to be an insult? Because you could just call her
Well,
bitch.
aren't their names like Babyface and Ace? So clearly they're not exactly the best at nicknames. So
Yeah.
I guess or insults.
Right.
Incel behavior.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't have fucked him. Okay, so Howard, he's had enough of this nonsense. He's all like, I'm done with this shit. So he's like, no more Mr. Nice Duck. So he pops up out of nowhere like a Houdini trick. And he's like, I'm the master of duck foo, or whatever he says. I can't remember everything. And he like totally beats the shit out of these two dudes. And Beverly jumps in there and everything, and then I love how he like locks in the love with his fingers, and he's like, you're breaking my fingers, and I'm like, he doesn't even have your fingers, he's got your palm. If anything, he was gonna break your wrist and everything.
Got little baby hands.
Yeah, I was all like, and I love how he had like the mesh gloves on with the
lace
cutoff.
gloves.
Yeah, I was like, gay. I was like,
He only have it in. He has it on both hands, right? Not just one, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
I was like, I'm pretty sure I owned those.
My favorite is the duck pops out of the barrel. What does he say? He's like, I've been doing too much toot. You know,
Right.
like I think it's a talking duck.
Exactly. That's good. That's so good. So then, so Beverly, to thank him, she's all like, hey, why don't you just come back to my apartment and everything, and you can, stay with me or whatnot. And so he goes back there, and this is where we get this great scene. And I don't know about you guys, but I like Beverly's apartment. She's like, it's not much. I'm like, it looks like fun, You've got the exposed brick wall and no ceiling.
Yeah.
But
it's such a trope where they're like, oh my god, this little place of mine. It's like this huge like 1-bedroom studio apartment with like I
know she
fixed rent
gripes
or
about
whatever.
her band manager so much, but she's like, our band manager found it for me, and I was like,
He's
he
awesome.
did a good job. He may suck as a band manager, but
He's got
this
like this
is
badass
pretty
like
nice.
skylight, and everything.
Right.
You're like,
Exactly. Yeah, one thing that I loved about this scene was when he walks in and he just acts like everything's so brand like new. Like he gets the cookie jar and it's like a baby's face, and he's like, hello, and I'm like, do they not have cookie jars with like duck baby faces, like
Right.
chicks' faces on
And
them?
how
I'm like,
offended he gets when he sees the duck
the
purse.
duck purse. I mean, I'm pretty sure we don't have human purses. I mean, maybe we do. I don't know, but
There are doll purses. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I love how she's like, I love how she's like, would you like something to eat or maybe something to drink? I could put it in a bowl. And I'm all like, he's talking to you, lady. What's going on here? Like she just automatically just like assume. And he's like, you got a beer and everything. And she's like, a beer and everything. She's just like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about a beer. Yeah, it's so weird. So then she's trying to like connect with Howard and everything, and she's like, what would you, gosh, I can't remember exactly what she says, but she's talking to him about his life or whatnot. And then there, like a truck goes by and the whole place shakes and he gets trauma. And I'm like, it's the only time he gets trauma in the entire movie and everything. And he has flashbacks and everything. And then she's like, you can stay here and everything. And then he falls asleep on her windowsill, right? And she's like, tomorrow I can take you to my science buddy. I think that's what she said.
Mhm.
So she's like, what? She's like, go ahead and, he falls asleep and everything. And then I think that she did something not so kosher. She goes
he
through his
practically
wallet.
molests him.
Well, I mean, yeah, but like she goes through his wallet, and I was like, I'm sorry, you don't need to be going through people's wallets.
Yeah, you're done past let's figure out if he's a serial killer because you've invited him to stay in your apartment. Finding out if he's telling the truth on his driver's license and if he's for real seems a little bit like we're past that.
Well,
you know?
Right.
What happens if you go through the wallet and see like pictures of like a human midget in his ID, and you realize like, oh, this guy's just a weirdo in a suit? I think seeing the tiny, the duck dollar bills and the duck ID, like this is like
The duck
it just
condom
adds-
was my favorite.
loose.
Apparently
It's a
on-
loose,
right?
Yeah,
That's what I was
exactly.
gonna say.
It's no good anymore.
Do they not wrap them on
it's just-
Duck Earth? Like what is
yeah,
that?
that's just. And what do they do for like lambskin condoms? Like, are there lambs on Duckworld? But yeah, no, I was just like, you bring up a good point, but that would be a much better movie if she opened it up and there's just human pictures and she's like, how, what?
But you know what I do love is there's that great part where you actually get Thomas Dolby singing that one, the kind of ballad song where she's in the rain. And you see like Howard like, oh, I guess I'll just sleep here on the street. You kind of see her like, oh, I guess I feel sorry for the little guy. He did save my life. I'll bring him in.
You're right.
But yeah, he's just a cute little rambunctious little dude.
Right on.
But don't you
think
think her going through the stuff is just like she just 100% like you make a good point. She was checking to see if he was just a little person in a duck suit, but shouldn't that have been her first thought? I mean, because my first thought would have not have been this is a legit duck.
No.
No, yeah, I would. I would have been like, I found a duck person. I would have been like, I'm gonna make buco bucks on this duck person.
You would have been like, Phil, we're gonna be on the cover of
Absolutely.
People.
I would have been way cooler than Phil though. Phil was weird.
I also love Howard's like sense of style, like the way he dresses himself is just very cool. He basically is like a little duck version of Michael J. Fox at the time, just like really like on top of his game. He wears like these great like vests, especially when he starts shopping at the kids section later.
Kids section of Goodwill,
Right.
and he goes looking for a job. I love that.
Yes. So speaking of Phil, because we talked about Phil, so she takes him to Phil. I love how she carries him around in a garbage bag, like she's a foster kid in the system, and that's her stuff and everything. So she trauma for some of you out there, and so I love how Phil he immediately gets a boner over this whole freaking thing, right?
Tim Robbins.
Yeah, Tim Robbins, exactly. He's great. And so I love how he's like trying to convince him of all this stuff, and he's like, we can do tests and see what's going on and everything, and maybe we can find intelligent life out there, whatnot. And I love how he was all like, can you bend this metal bar and everything? And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? And then my favorite part of it was after he does this spiel about, he's like, instead of, apes coming out of the system and being all, Cro-Magnon man, we get Cro-Magnon duck and everything. And then I love how his boss is like, hey, somebody clogged up the shitter again. Go clean it up. And he's just like, all right, I'll be right on that, Tom.
You realize he's the janitor the whole time.
Yeah. He's got a white coat on, like he's somebody important, and he's not.
My favorite is when he first goes into the office. You see that great smash cut of Tim Robbins like opening the door for Lea Thompson and his hot musician, friend maybe with benefits, whoever they are, and she shows up with his garbage bag and he's like, what do you got here? He closes the door and then it cuts to him and he just comes out there like all excited and like hyperventilating, and then he runs into that office full of other scientists and he's like, you guys don't understand what I've just discovered. It's and he kind of thinks about what he's about to say and he goes, it's nothing. It's nothing. He just leaves.
I'm not gonna lie. I would like to see the things like after that happened. I want to see the conversation inside that room with those people.
Yeah.
Just like, what the hell was that? It was just the janitor. He's weird.
So
Everything.
The old guy's going, we should have him to drug tested. Something's wrong with him.
Everything.
Dude.
So, and I love how like after he leaves, I love how he leaves and Beverly is trying to like convince him to stay or whatnot, and Phil's trying to convince him to, you know, be his little puppet or whatnot. And he's all like, I'm a freak and everything. You're like, oh, get the fuck over yourself. You're such a whiny bitch right now. And I love how he's like I don't remember exactly, but he's standing there and all these little kids come up and they just start touching him. And I'm all like, and he's all like, he's like, I've had enough of this. And the lady's all like, he's so lifelike. I'm like, bitch, have you never seen a costume before? Like, what's going on here? Like, everybody's acting like it's like some people act like it's a person in a suit, others act like it's a matronic thing or whatever. And I'm all like, and I love how he's like, buzz off, and she's like, excuse me. And I love how they try so hard not to swear in this movie. I'm like, oh, just like, get the fuck out of here, bitch, with your these little bastards.
You mean his little duck tantrum he throws right here?
Yes,
which I'm like, this is a little, he waited a little long. I feel like I would have had a tantrum, you know, after I woke up in a barrel or I had to climb into a barrel. I would have had a tantrum. He waits until after his interaction with Phil that it dawns on him that, shit, this is for real.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I do like how Howard, you know, when he's had enough of getting grilled by Tim Robbins' character, and he storms off, and Lea Thompson like follows him, like, yeah, I'm out of here too. I'm following Howard, and then they have these encounters with other people, and I think the issue is, you know, if we could have had like the makeup be like, because when you think of like Harry and the Hendersons, like that looks so real.
Right.
It'd be easy to think that's actually a Bigfoot, you know, because of the human eyes. Right. I think a big problem with Howard and his animatronic suit, if you just take him for face value, it would be easy to see that and think, okay, I think in the movie he's supposed to look a little bit more lifelike because his eyes are like those. He's got like the Crypt Keeper, Chucky eyes, you know, those like lifelike big blue doll eyes that just kind of move around on servos. Mm-hmm. And it really does. Like, I think if you remade this movie with like a more lifelike computer animated duck, I think it would sell a lot of these interactions better. Because kids are weird, and if they saw like a little like a 4-foot tall duck man in a suit, I think it'd be hard for them not to like go up to it and be like, "Hey, what's your deal?" You know.
See, I think the opposite. I think they'd be scared because it's like when you take them to Chuck E. Cheese and they're like really little, they're all like and everything. But at the same time, well, how old are those kids? They were like what, 8? So maybe they wouldn't be because my kids are older and they love Chuck E. Cheese. So they love Chucky. They're all like hugs. Okay, so I did also love Beverly, how like I love the acting in this part because Lea Thompson does like the best job in this movie. She's my favorite part of this movie, but she's just like fine, Mr. Duckman, you wallow in your self-pity because I'm out of here and you can just get the fuck out of here.
Her storm off is
it was
over the top.
So good.
I love
so
it.
Good.
So
it was
good.
Like, yeah, it was like the best acting, but like camp all the way.
Her motions are like.
She was very pointy, pointy. Like you get out of here, Mr. Duckman.
I love it.
I mean, that is kind of one of the benefits of not doing like computer animated characters, but like, because you realize Lea Thompson has to sell it. Like, you got to be kind of like in this platonic borderline, like romantic relationship with this character, and you're upset at him and you're storming off and you're looking at this little duck character. You realize like you're filming this scene like this movie's gonna be so weird, you know, in the back of your head while you're trying to sell this whole like I'm out of here, you know, like how could you not be thinking that? You know?
Yeah, and I like how Howard's like he's like I don't need you, I don't need anybody, and she's like, oh yeah, and then she just storms off, and I'm like, good one, Beverly.
You're like burn.
Yeah, you really got to him, you know, you got to the heart.
She's also like almost like welling up, like almost about to cry at one point. Like, okay, fine.
Yeah, right.
I was waiting for her to be like, I thought we were friends. What is happening?
Right.
You know, like.
Meanwhile, Howard has only been in her life less than 12 hours. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah, right. That's exactly.
She has this. She puts her heart on her sleeve. You know, she's probably been burned a few times by boys before. You know,
I gotta go. She was going through a trauma, and he saved her. And like, you know, there's studies that show when something like that happens, there's an emotional connection.
I feel like she could have taken those two days.
But I also go, how do you think the actor who is playing Howard the Duck feels? I mean, like, he's into the character, and do you think like he's in that suit and like halfway through the scene, he's like, shit, I'm a duck. Like he gets into it and forgets that he's in this big old suit and a duck.
Is Howard like a tiny person, or is it a child?
No, he is a little person. Okay. He is played by Ed
Sheeran.
Gale.
Gale,
Oh,
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He played one of
Right
the
on.
Ewoks or something.
that's
Yeah,
great.
he was also
I'm
he
sure
was
a lot
in
of people
what,
played
like
an Ewok.
yeah, and
back
well, he was
then.
in Spaceballs.
There you go.
Nice.
He was in Bill and Ted's, and
Wherever there's a little creature, they're
I
there.
think he's in that Tiptoe movie. That weird
Tiptoe, yeah,
movie.
yeah. We reviewed that movie. He was probably every little person was in that movie.
Tiptoes is a damn masterpiece. That's
That's
the one that, like,
say
a lot of my
so.
normie friends know that I watch and specialize in very weird movies. And I can't tell you how many times someone has been like, "Have you seen this movie?" And I'm like, "Of course, absolutely,
Yes, of
I've
course.
seen
Yeah,
Tiptoes."
we reviewed that movie. That movie's interesting. Okay, all right. So this is where we get it because he's all like, I gotta make a living now because I'm stuck on this crappy planet with all these humans and everything. So
Goes to
It's
unemployment.
almost he's like, he's like, I gotta get a job to make enough money to catch the next plane home.
right, exactly. Yeah. Real quick, I just want to say, I remember him after he gets into his fight with Beverly and she stomps off and everything. I remember him turning around and there's a dude on the fountain that he's at just eating an egg sandwich and he's all like, "Gah, gah,
Yeah.
gah." And I'm all like, dude, beat his ass. You're trying to eat your breakfast. You're minding your own business and this duck
Just
comes
walking
along.
across
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Well,
little area.
I think it's like Fight Club, another movie. Like, real, most people avoid conflicts. You got a tiny person, possibly a child in a duck suit, assaulting you. I think best thing to do is just kind of leave the area.
That's a good story though. And then the next thing I know, some
Yeah.
fucking kid in a duck suit just starts cawing at me. Yeah, yeah.
After he just had like a very obvious and awkward breakup with a grown woman.
or his nanny just left.
Yeah,
sitting at the
exactly.
fountain.
Yeah, you think it's the nanny like having like a tantrum, like, I'm done with this. Tell your mom to fuck
I
off.
quit. He's everybody else's problem now.
Yeah, you're the worst kid ever.
Yeah, right. That's so good. So he goes to unemployment. Now, I don't remember the name of the lady at unemployment. By the way, have you guys ever been to unemployment? Like, you guys ever done an unemployment?
No.
No? No?
Briefly tried in Texas, but then I got another job and it didn't matter.
Right on. Okay. So this woman at unemployment, she is this sassy black woman. She is fantastic. I love her.
I love
was
her.
like, I want to watch a movie with her, like they did in Precious with Mariah Carey, but it's her and everything. So just like she's just dealing with assholes and ducks. Okay.
All the ones that think they can just milk the system.
Exactly.
She's the bad cop. She's the one that they send all the phonies and fakers and lazy bums to. Like, I will
Find
get your ass a
anyone,
job
yeah.
whether you like it or not.
Yeah,
For
and I love
sure.
how he goes to try to bite her ass and everything, and I'm all like, I wonder what would have happened if she did bite her ass. But she gets him a job, and it is to be the janitor at this like romance spa. Which I just want to say, I watched this with my kids, and my wife was all like, I don't think this is appropriate. I'm like, this is fine. I watched this all the time as a kid. I probably jerked off to it and everything.
It's just like
You don't
it's like
really see anything.
You don't see any. You don't
No.
see. You see the duck titties. That's the most you see in this
it's
entire
like
movie.
a sleazy pool house. You don't
Exactly.
know what's going
Everybody's
on here.
got one in their town. We have one. We have got a couple here where it's just you go and you rent a hot tub and then you have sex in it. That's basically what you did. That's all you do in those places. Anyways, so which was all those people were doing in those places. And I love the guy. He's all like his boss is like, he's got a cigar. He's just like, yeah, creepy little dude and everything. I was like, I feel like there's some definitely some OSHA violations here. And so,
Yeah, that was something I also thought that was very weird was because I was a kid, and I didn't get it, but there's a part where he has to go clean up that one pool, and it's just full of like what I thought was like septic water or something. But as I get older, I'm like, oh no, it's like a mud treatment bath. It's supposed to be mud. I was like, what's wrong with that pool?
Yeah,
I was
God.
concerned with the one that he takes him and throws him into the one hot tub where he needs to check the jet, and there are people in it. I'm like, you do realize
like
you just threw him in a pool where people were fucking, right? That's not
They're like
sanitary.
mid penetration, and he's all like, "Let's just throw a duck in this situation." And they don't skip a beat like at all.
I don't think that's the type of threesome they were hoping for at all.
They were mid coitus, and they're just like, "Oh look, a duck," but they weren't like that. They were just like, and I love how the mud bath. Okay, so when he was doing that mud bath, I literally looked over to my wife and was like, "Who would fuck in a mud bath? Like that just seems like bad news bears right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well just stick sand in your vagina. Okay, so he punts that dude into the mud bath and he gets fired. Well, then
he
he's
quits.
okay, that's right. He quits. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. He did quit. So then he's got to eat shit and go back to Beverly. Okay. So he walks into the bar and she's doing that really great like slow song. Your shoulders, which by the way, I love the song. The whole time I was like, I remember recording this on it because you know how you could get a cassette tape and you could hit record and play at the same time and record stuff from the TV. I did that with this whole movie when they sang. Anyway. And then finally, so he's sitting there and he's all like, and she's all like, oh, this is so depressing. I'm like, yeah, but it's so good, Beverly, keep going. And then she's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then dun and everything. She starts playing her stuff, and the crowd gets a moving and everything.
Yeah.
So then we get Beverly's man. Yeah, the bar fight. We're getting Beverly's manager, and then the two other dudes, which I was a tiny bit confused. The other dude in the like hat. Was he the bar owner or was he like a record person?
Beverly's shitty manager that they complain about.
Okay,
right?
He's the one with the earring that he like stabs.
He's the one. Oh, go ahead. The other one.
Well, I was wondering who is the other guy with the head, like the little henchman with the head.
The ginger one.
Hey, your girls are great. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one with the hat is like the bar manager or owner, and the other guy's like his assistant.
His assistant.
Or his bodyguard or whatever. I don't know.
Either way, they were both
his boyfriend for all I know, okay?
For sure. Wow. And I love how he's got the one bar owner, he's got the cigarette on the little Cruella DeVille stick and everything. And I'm like, what is that? I was like,
while he's wearing like, what was his shirt? It looked like it was like meshy sequins.
It was mesh, so he was totally gay. Okay, so and then he had like what did he have, like the little like the epaulets and the necklace and everything? I don't know. It was
such a style, dude.
I was like, who designed this? Beyonce's mother. So then they're talking about, he gives him a big wad of cash. He's like, make sure the girls get their money. He's like, oh, I'll make sure they get it. And they're like, ha 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 ha. And I'm all like, I think that's illegal. Like, you guys like, and everything. So
it's like a bad pimp situation, you know,
right?
like skimming way more off the top than he's telling you, you know.
So then,
well, according to what Beverly tells Howard, they don't get any money ever.
Right.
He never gives them money. So I'm like, because apparently he's holding it off until he's pretty much going to use it to blackmail Beverly into sleeping with him.
Yeah, that's exactly like a pimp. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm going to hang on to this because you can't be trusted with it, and you need anything, I'll break a little off for you, you know?
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
I'll get you a nice apartment.
You know what my favorite is before Howard goes to the club, they show him at his bottom and his rock bottom, and that's where he comes out of a bus. And there's like a random black dude on the bus, and he's like, that's a duck! That's a duck, man! And then he goes to the TVs, and he sees like the duck hunting video, and he's like, oh, and he leaves. He's like, all traumatized.
And the people watching the TV are like, what's your hurry, man?
That is just such a thing to say. Just like you see a guy at a duck and just say, that's a duck! A duck, man! It's a duck! People just pointing and laughing at him wherever he goes, you know?
That's good. I like that. That's so good. So then he does end up having a confrontation with the manager guy. Ginger. There we go. What a horrible name for a dude. So I love how he's all like, he blows smoke in his mouth and everything because he's smoking a cigar and everything. He's like, you're gonna give me the money for the girls and then you're gonna buzz off and everything. And then he gets then the one guy with the long hair and the top, he looks like Bob from Batman. He's all like, hey, little duck man, time to go, bye. And he like slides him across the bar, which I just want to say right now, he slid very far. And I love the bartender is so freaking gay. He's got the dangly earring and the beret with a bald head and like the drawn and the little slim devil goatee,
the pencil mustache,
pencil mustache, and I'm all like, okay, hey, what's up, baguette? And so
His reaction when he hands him that bottle too is just like he makes that great face with his cigarette in his mouth. He's got like a ultra slim or something.
Deserved it. I wanted to do that for years.
Right.
Relishing in it. I also love how when Howard, first makes himself known to the manager, you think you're gonna get some tough guy, like some Bruce Willis type character, like, hey, I'm a friend of Beverly's. Instead, it's like this little duck man. That's a lot to absorb. But one of my favorite details is he's got like a shot glass, like a double shot with a straw in it.
Yeah, right.
So, that's like his whole cocktail, It's so great. But yeah, that bar is nice and waxed, because he slides knocks over like 30 drinks.
Knocks over 30
no
drinks.
stickiness or anything on their bar.
Exactly.
That place does not look like they're passing health codes, so I think that bar was a little too smooth.
Right on, right. And I also love how I love how the girls are playing. They're like, "What's going on?" Because everybody's left the dance floor to see the fight and everything.
I mean, wouldn't you leave the dance floor to see a duck?
Absolutely. I would, for anything. And so I love when Howard, he like puts his hand above the bar and he like lifts his heads up, and then Ginger's like, "Huh?" and everything, and I'm like, what? Like he didn't expect that dude to come back. I'm like, you didn't knock him out. And I love how he like walks across the bar, and he's just very like, he's just all like, and then he gets to the henchman guy, and he just smacks him with a dish towel, and I'm like, where did that come from? And then he punches him out. He's out for the count, right? And then Frenchie hands him the bottle, and he knocks him out, and he does his little thing. And I love how Ginger's gonna go punch Howard because he's got him down, and he sees an ice pick. He's like, huh? And he grabs the ice pick. He's like duck kebab. And he's like hiya, and everything. Like this is and he's going to stab him and everything. And then Howard gets the jump on him by kicking him in the head, and then he like flips over and he stabs him in his earring, and he's all like,
and the crowd acts like he's like stabbed him in the eye. They're all like,
oh right, yeah, exactly, horrified. Yeah, exactly. And so he's like, here's the money. He's like, and now I have ownership of the girl. He's like, I want everybody to know that I am no longer in charge of the, I manage the girls. And I'm all like, I don't think that's legal either. I'm like, maybe there was some paper signed. Yeah, there's by the girls. So I think maybe that you might have some troubles in the future. Maybe if there was some paper contracts and everything.
Or when they become famous.
You got a room full of witnesses saying that you intimidated someone to sign ownership over.
Exactly. So then we get he goes backstage, right, and he's like I got your money, and Ginger's gone, and they're like Howard, you're the best and everything, and then what's his face comes along, Cliff. No, thank you. And he's all like, Howard and everything. And I'm like,
he's so excited.
Yeah, he's like, I finally get to see you again.
I've been looking for you.
Yeah, I've been looking for you. Like I'm just like
I've checked all the good duck parks. I finally found you.
I feel like you could put up a lost duck poster, and somebody would have called him for sure.
Yes,
like,
that random black dude on the bus. Yo, I've seen him. I've seen him.
I've seen him on the bus.
I saw a duck. It was a duck.
Oh yeah, and I love how like Phil is just this like super cool nerd guy who's like a janitor in a museum, and he just hangs out with these like hot babes who are in a band, and they're like all getting dressed. Which one?
Yeah, the one.
The redhead is his girlfriend.
The drummer.
Yeah,
she's the girlfriend.
Awesome.
Yeah, but she was cute. Yeah, they're all pretty good looking.
And I love how he tells her, "No sex now." No,
yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think that's what she was asking you, but okay.
Right.
Nice.
So he he's got the girls like wrapped around his finger now and everything, and Beverly and him go back to her apartment. And this is where we get this scene that everybody wants to criticize because Howard's all like, because Lea Thompson looks fucking good in this scene. Like she's bent over, she's got the little belly, and she's got the little.
I look like that. I'd be
dude,
like, hey,
yeah,
pajamas.
Scene where I'm walking around in my underwear and bra or something.
Exactly.
I worked really hard for this, and I'd like to show it off.
Exactly.
But like, let's say you had like a guy staying at your house, like a roommate situation, and yeah, she's like wearing this kind of thing like around you.
Apparently it's a duck. She's fine walking around in front of ducks like that.
Right on. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like one of the most awkward boner scenes ever.
Yeah, for sure. And I love how he gets into the bed with her and everything because she's like, hop into bed here, you silly goose.
But she
he's like,
pets it like he's a dog. Like
Like a
you know,
pet.
a dog to jump up on the bed. I'm like, I don't think he's a dog.
Right. And then they start like flirting, right, and everything. And she like leans into it and she's like, oh, your animal magnetism and everything. And he's all like, what? And everything. I'm like, no, let her jerk you off, whatever, dude. Come on.
She kind of calls his bluff because he's kind of talking this game, and then she's like, all right, let's go for it. And he gets all freaking nervous, and she's like, yeah, I thought so. Good night, duck.
Yeah, which I'm all like, dude, just go ahead. So then, and then she goes to give him a kiss. And while this is going on, Phil, is that his name?
Yes.
Yeah, Phil and Dr. Jennings, they come into their apartment, which I just want to say right now, even though they said the door was open, you don't just walk into somebody's apartment, ring the doorbell or knock, you friggin' weirdos. And then they're like off in the corner jerking off to watching them, play around and everything.
Stupid Phil probably telling him, don't worry, she's expecting us.
So then they meet Dr. Jennings, and he tells them how the night of Howard being brought to Earth,
I think it's
they
like
had May 8th.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. So he tells them that they opened up a portal or something, and that night all they found was I forgot to mention that Phil had stolen a feather from Howard, and then they tested, and it's the same feathers. And so, because then the night he was brought to Earth, a single feather that fell from the sky, and I'm all like, that's great and everything. You guys wasted more government money, of course.
Well, my whole thing with that is Howard couldn't get out of the little beam, but then all of a sudden the beam loses its strength right above the alleyway, and only can bring back a feather.
Right, exactly. And then later on, it brings a whole demon. You're like, what's going on here? Your science is not sciencing. Right now.
I don't know much about laser beams, but that's
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, basically the beam peered into the veil, and went through interdimensional, basically. Pulls Howard out, and like you said, he falls somewhere in an alley. But yeah, I think it like signals to the dark overlords of the universe. Like they get there's like an alert. It's like a bat signal to them or something. Yes. I don't know.
Yeah. So then
pull through when they try to reverse it.
Yes, exactly. So he tells them that he thinks they can get enough energy and power to send another beam home to send Howard back. Okay. So
but they overshoot his planet and go to the edge of the universe, where is the darkness, where all evil spirits are shunned away to. And I was like, you mean hell? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's all Lovecraftian all of a sudden,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. So then right next to Duckworld is hell. And so then they get to the lab, right? And I love when they go into the lab and that one scientist comes on, he's like, we shouldn't have messed with anything. And he's just like half burnt. And he walks past him. And if you look, because I watched this scene, because I was like, whatever happened to that dude? He's just walking down the hallway. Nobody's helping him out. He's clearly injured, and he's just yelling out random things that like we shouldn't mess
with the universe.
Yeah,
and then
it exploded again. Yeah, and he just kind of walks off, and I remember he's making some kind of kind of noise as he's like wandering off, right. And Howard's just like, this doesn't bode very well.
Right. Yeah. Howard's like, am I getting home?
He's got half his face burned off.
Right. So Dr. Jennings at this point is missing because he was right underneath the blast. And all these scientists are going crazy. Then Howard gets like arrested, and he's like taken into a room, and then a detective and all these cops show up, and they're asking him questions. And the first thing they do is they're like take off the costume and everything, and they're like, it's not and he's like in his boxers, which I'm all like, oh, you guys will show duck titty, but you won't show duck dick. Like, what's going on here? Because that thing would have just like flopped and like rolled out and everything.
It's corkscrew shaped.
It wasn't going to be very big. Howard was embarrassed.
I mean, maybe
we saw the size of the condom.
That's so true. So then Howard, Phil, and no, not Phil, Howard, Beverly, and they find Dr. Jennings. And I love how they steal one cop's gun, and then the other cops are like, he's armed, so shoot to kill. And I'm like, man, you guys go like hardcore real quick.
It was the
It's a good thing.
80s.
Yeah, good thing it wasn't that black duck. And so then they escape, right? And I love how the whole time, and I just have to say that Jeffrey Jones does a great job, like transferring his voice, because it doesn't. When I say this, I'm being like sarcastic, but at the same time, I loved every minute. He's like, I'm not doing too well, and you're all like, oh wow, look at that acting stretch there. And he's like, I will soon become the Overlord, and you're all like, this. I'm love. You made a choice, and I'm loving every
Like
minute
when
of it.
he did that, I really feel like that was a kid when we like would say we were going to be a monster. We'd do that with our voices,
Right?
And
Yeah.
Oh, it cracks me up. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it was
love
so good.
I also
And
love how
s-
like pink and sweaty he is, you know, when he's changing. Like, he looks really bad. And then on top of that, it's like, you know, he's saying this really hardcore stuff. Like you're not realizing, like you're not grasping, like how heavy this movie's about to get. Like there's a part where he's like behind the wheel and he's like, the world's about to be the end, and I will be the cause of it. You know, it's just like he's saying some pretty alarming things, Howard. You know,
Right,
like,
like you
and
guys
Howard's
need to
like,
pay-
so can I go home first?
Yeah.
You can destroy it all you want.
right on. So then while they're doing this, so the car goes a little wonky while they're trying to get away and everything. And by the way, this part where they're that Jennings is driving and the car is like weaving in and out of traffic, and they're just like and everything. And then they end up stopping at this diner. And I just have to say,
I would go to this diner.
yeah, I would go to this diner too.
Oh.
This diner looked fantastic. They had everything. You want sushi? They got it. You want, eggs on, an octopus? They got it. Everything. So they go into this diner and
Cajun sushi is what it was. Yeah,
yeah,
That place
yeah.
sounds awesome.
Yeah, it
Joe
does sound
Joe
awesome.
Roma's.
Yeah, Joe Roma's. I would have gone there. It looked great.
Oh, and
And I
also
love-
Jeffrey Jones like technically dies like right before they walk in. Like he literally announces like I'm dead, and then that's when he's like full time this dark overlord, kind of like
Right.
a Edgar suit. Like he's like a dead corpse being like
Right.
puppeted around by some kind of spirit, you know.
Right, that's so true. So then they go in and they sit down, and also the waitress. I love this waitress. I don't know what the name of the waitress, but I love how she's like, oh man, that's such a great costume and everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, is your dad okay? And then and so
And she pats Lea Thompson on the shoulder. And it's like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
You poor
and,
thing.
and they order dinner.
The waitress's name is Crystal.
Crystal, yeah. So that for some reason I thought her name was Destiny, which is like such
That
a
would have
stripper
been
name.
good too.
That would have been good. So, and I love how they're wearing like the Japanese headbands, but like they're wearing like the down on the prairie, the down on the prairie,
picnic
with,
napkin,
like
apron,
the Dorothy dress with like
The tablecloth dress.
She tries to get Jeffrey Jones's order, and he starts like ranting about the end of the world
Right.
again, and then Lea Thompson and Howard the Duck are like rolling their eyes, like, oh, not this again.
Yep.
Right. So then she brings back some eggs, which Howard is not a fan of, and he's all like, just the beers and everything. So then
the waitress is very offended that they don't want the specials.
Right, exactly,
Are we all
exactly.
just having the same conversation? And I
right,
was like,
yeah,
well, you are. Just
you are. You're just looking at a duck, honey. Okay. So, but I mean, like at the same time, I'm like, those were probably chicken eggs.
They
Howard.
were not
you
duck
need to,
eggs.
Yeah, you need to calm down. I go. So then, he's got this Dr. Jennings, or the Dark Overlord. He's got this little code key. Okay, and that's going to, because what his big plan is to get the laser, get enough power to bring back over more overlords so they can destroy the world and everything. So he's got the little key code. And then what ensues next is like these truckers come up and they're like, hey, baby, you want a good time and everything? And like, I got what you want. I got what you need. And she's like, oh, buzz off and everything. And the acting in this scene is just so crazy because they're all like, they're one minute they're all like, I'm down to fuck. And then the next minute, the next second, they're like angry, like with a flip of a switch.
Yeah,
They're just
like, we're gonna make duck à l'orange. Let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah, exactly. And And so, oh, by the way, real quick, one thing that we got in here was like that he destroyed the ketchup and the mustard because he like laser beams that shit
Yeah.
with his eyes and everything. And so then havoc ensues with Howard and all these people, these trucker people and everything, and he's almost killed.
Well, okay, can we stop a minute? They tie him up because they are going to cook him. They're literally seasoning
Yeah, exactly.
him,
Yeah,
putting
exactly.
celery in his mouth and dropping lettuce around him. And I'm like, you guys know he's wearing clothes, right?
Yeah, like when
Fabric
you
doesn't
watch,
taste good.
if you watch, Superman 2 or Starman or this or many other 80s movies, you were under the impression that random, middle of the road diner spots were like a haven of like dangerous, hair trigger assailants just waiting to just like find an excuse to torment or beat someone up.
That
I
is
don't
just
understand.
where everyone straight out of jail goes to get into their first fight, apparently, is to the nearest diner / truck stop. So they
Yeah.
can just
Right.
Also the thing about Jeffrey Jones, like, blowing up the mustard bottles, you're starting to realize, like, oh, he's not all talk. Like, he starts mutating, like his skin's all starting to peel off and stuff, and he's just looking worse
He's
and
the
worse.
type of alien
Right.
that Phil was hoping for.
Yeah.
Can you bend this bar? Can you, blow a hole through this wood with your laser eyes? This is what Phil was hoping for.
Right.
Right. So then Beverly, she's like, hey, you have to help Howard, and he's like, and everything, and then she's like, they have the little code key, and that's when the Dark Overload freaks the fuck out, and he gets up, and she's like, I love when she was like, hey, leave him alone, he's my boyfriend, and they're all like, that's disgusting.
Gross.
I'm all like, I'm like, you guys are crazy. So then the Dark Overlord gets up, and he starts demonstrating his power. My favorite was when he like lights up the burners in the kitchen. He's like, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. And I was like, that's so good, because I remember being young and I remember laughing at that every time. I'm like, that's funny, but it's like a common saying. I'm all like, but I thought it was funny. So they all leave, and he eventually he grabs Beverly because the other Dark Overlords need a host to impregnate. I don't know. And so he takes Beverly and he leaves Howard there all knocked out and everything. And so when Howard comes to, he finds Phil and everything because Phil has been arrested. Yes,
Yep.
by the cops and everything. And they get on they find like a little what kind of airplane? It's not an airplane. It's like a kite with an engine.
Go-kart
Yeah.
with wings.
Yeah,
One of
I don't know
those-
what that's called.
Yeah, like from Fly Away Home, whatever, with Anna Paquin and the Ducks,
Right.
one of those,
Yeah.
one of those like auto, like a engine hang glider kind of thing.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. So they find one of those, right, and they take off and everything. And I love how
convenient.
how can be, but I love how he's all like, Howard, you don't know how to fly, and I'm like, motherfucker, that he didn't have, he had hands and shit, not wings. So and you talk about Cro-Magnon Man and how they lost their wings or whatever. So while this is going on, Beverly and the Dark Overlord are going to they get a truck and they are headed back to the laboratory. And this part freaked my kids out like hardcore, is when he's like, need more power, and he like his tongue like comes out and it's all like
tongue.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all like getting up in Beverly's like face and everything. She's like, and everything. And then it like sticks into the lighter from
The
a
cigarette
car.
lighter, yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm like, do they even make those anymore in cars? And so, and I also loved how he like pushes up against the traffic because there's traffic now because of the laboratory explosion. And the cops all like, turn off your engine. He's like, it is, somebody's pushing. And I'm like, oh, you guys are children. And so he's like, he gets to the truck and he's like, shut it down. And as soon as you see the Dark Overlord's face, it's just so gone. And he's got the hair.
Yeah.
And when he does the and everything, I'm just like, why don't you guys just leave him alone? He is all 10 shades of fucked up.
He's got like the sunken like cranium
Right,
dents and
exactly.
stuff, and his eyes are all sunken in. He looks horrifying.
I love when he goes, because every time he does it, I think of Pee Wee Herman's character in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, where
Right.
he's the
when he's dying.
the vampire, and he
Best
just
death
keeps
scene
dying, and
ever.
he's like, Ah,
Right. That is great.
That's exactly what the
Right.
Dark Overlord sounds like to me.
But yeah, there's like all the dark overlord stuff, like when he's all glowing in the diner and he's
Yep.
breaking stuff, and when he's like driving, he's got his laser eyes, behind the wheel, and it's like specifically those parts where I'm like, wait, why do people hate this movie? This movie's
Yeah,
badass. Like, what's going on here?
Right, yeah, exactly.
This is awesome.
Exactly. Like I was having a good time watching it for last night and everything. So then Phil and Howard, they show up at the lab, right? And the thing is, they get this, and I don't remember, it was like some neutron detonator. I don't know exactly what it was called, but they get this this cool gun.
Yeah.
I was like, that thing looks freaking awesome. I totally forgot about the neutron gun. And I love that they attached it to a go-kart. I was like, this makes it even better. This is badass and everything. And I did love how they went in there. Like the first time they went in to go stop the Dark Overlord, they were like, fuck this noise. We need weapons. And so then they finally, they're fighting off the Dark Overlord or whatever, but he is able to like turn it on and everything. He's gonna bring over his little buddies or whatnot. And
Who are ugly as fuck. Can I?
Yes, because we do get the reveal of the monster at this point in time, and he looks like maybe a mix of like a kind of like a scorpion because he's got the tail and everything.
It's got like a spider kind of tarantula face
Yeah.
with like big claws and stinger.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have fit in.
Yeah, exactly. And they separate Dr. Jennings from the monster and everything. And the monster comes out of the grating of the laboratory and everything. And then there's this other big, huge fight that ensues also. Which I just love. Like I don't know about anybody else, but as soon as I saw Phil faints, I would just be like, well, let's get the fuck out of here. Like get somebody with guns in here because I don't want to mess with this Dark Overlord.
Call the military.
This is above my pay grade. I'm just a janitor. I'm out.
Exactly. Because I was a tiny bit confused because I thought that the Dark Overlord wasn't going to be able to survive without a host, and I'm like, well, why is he not dying then? And I also loved how he was just shooting laser beams out of his eyes and everything while everybody's running. He's got the little tentacle coming out of his hands and capturing Howard.
Yeah. Well, there's that great part where he needs more power, and there's the reason why there's the traffic in the first place. And when he's in the truck is because there's like a nuclear power plant.
Yep.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
He goes and drains all the energy from the nuclear power plant, so that's why he's got like super laser hand cannons now and stuff. He's like,
right. No, I totally forgot about that. He does go into
he's a nuclear overlord
just,
now.
He's like Super Saiyan mode now.
Yeah, he's Super Saiyan. He's over 9,000.
Yeah.
So, and I also love when Beverly and Phil try to escape, and he uses power, and he like totally like Ghostbusters them, where they're like and everything, and they're just standing there all zapped and everything. That was friggin' great.
Yeah.
And so then they end up cutting off the little like tentacle thing from the Dark Overlord, which I wish the Dark Overlord had a so I wish that they had a name for the Dark Overlord, like his name was like Bob or something like that, so we could be like so now while all this is going on, Howard is able to get the go-kart back up and running, and he ends up like destroying the monster and everything.
But he also destroys the laser at the same time, so he won't be able to go home.
He willingly sacrifices his way home in order to save human Earth. So
right. Well, I love when he shoots the Overlord, and the Overlord just turns into this big like purple dust or whatever. That was pretty great. And then you're right. He does have to destroy the laser to stop the Overlords from coming. And I do love how Beverly's all like, but Howard, you aren't going to be able to go home. And then it plays the soft music and everything.
Dude, you're the duckiest. Like, the song is called You're the Duckiest, and it's one of the best. It is one of the most like moving pieces of music ever. And it's for this Howard the Duck movie. Like, if you listen to it like isolated, like not associated with the movie whatsoever, you're like, man, this is something. There's something here.
I agree. Yeah, it's a good song. And like you said, the soundtrack of this movie is really good. So then the Dark Overlords are coming, right? They end up destroying the laser and saving the day and everything. Send the Dark Lords back to their, Dark Lord land.
Please.
Yep, hell. And so
Phoenix.
yes, and one thing I did love was I loved how when the wreckage was all over with, and then Phil like sits up and he's like, I am, a Dark Overlord or something like that because he's fucking with him and everything.
It's Howard, yeah.
It's Howard, yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, Howard. Sorry. That's what I meant. I meant that. I don't know why I said Phil. And then he's like, gotcha, and everything. And they're like, oh, Howie, you're so funny and everything.
It'd be funny if he stands up and realizes he's got like a piece of rebar through his belly. He's like, oh, whoops, whoa, hang on. This is not a joke. It's suddenly very serious.
I wonder if they would have taken him to a vet or like a doctor. Right. So okay, so then we get this amazing end scene because then they hug and everything's great, and then we get Howard the Duck, the song, right?
Yeah,
and the ladies have like made it or whatever, and I just want to say
an arena.
Yeah, I love everything about this scene. I love their outfits. I love the song. I love how she looks when she looks over, and Howard's all like Jim, and he's like mwah, and everything. You're like, oh, get the fuck out of here, you two. You guys are crazy.
I love her. I realize like her feathered hair might be like symbolic, because of feathers, the ducks.
Oh, right on. That's funny.
Her hair is so teased, and it's like the most insane hair. I think Lea Thompson said it took like 2 or 3 hours to do her hair for these scenes.
That's amazing. So I also love how Phil is he's their stage manager. He's like, you are ready, you are go. I'm like, Phil, you are just way too excited right now. You need to calm the fuck down. As I've been backstage during these things, you are way too excited for a stage manager. Stage managers are like
professional.
He loves his job. Okay?
Maybe, but he was playing too loosey goosey in my opinion. Because then he's all like, "Hey Howard, pull that string," and Howard pulls the wrong one. He's like, "Not that one." And of course, Howard goes like he goes up like above up in the air and above the stage or whatever. But I just want to say that the effect of like the lights like coming off that little globe thing that they had, I thought that was pretty great.
I love Howard's little child guitar, that he plays.
Yeah, right.
So cool.
Yeah.
Doing the Marty McFly.
Yeah, I love how he's like, he comes down and he gets off the thing and then he turns around and he's like, oh no, like he's surprised, like, why am I on stage? Like, bitch, you just came down from the ceiling. You knew where you were. Stop it. And everything. And I love how the crowd just like freaks the fuck out over him. And then, by the way, his guitar is not plugged in that scene. I don't, and I'm like, I don't even think Lea Thompson's guitar is plugged in.
They have those little wireless inputs or whatever. Which
do they? Okay, I wasn't
still. My favorite is the drummer who's playing on one of those like standing only like electric drum sets.
It's so good. And I love how they have their little guitar battle off and they're doing that thing where they like, and then doesn't Phil like end up in the crowd at the end?
He's in the front row.
Which I'm like, Phil, that is not how your job works.
Last place for the production manager to be.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't get to go from backstage handling the lights and shit to all of a sudden you're in the crowd enjoying the concert.
No.
Yeah.
Your job isn't over until 2 hours after the concert's done, and it's either packed up or reset for the next show. Come on, Phil.
The keytar is also a great touch. You got to have a keytar.
It's a huge 80s thing. Yeah. I mean, you don't see those anymore. I wish you did, because love those.
Yeah, no, and I think imagine if like Red Hot Chili Peppers had a song dedicated to their manager and his name was like Howard Firestein or something, and Howard shows up and plays guitar for a song and the whole audience is like, yeah, Howard, that'd be just weird.
Now I want to see that. I would love to see that.
Yeah. I mean, when you put it into context,
blow up their Twitter now and be like, you gotta do this.
Yeah, right.
But honestly, like it's the weakest of their songs, the Cherry Bomb songs, because the first song you hear them do, Hunger City, like that's a legit awesome song. It's a legit cool song.
It's a good song. Yeah. It's a good song. Yeah.
The Howard the Duck song is like, ugh. And it's kind of like what was it, Frank Sinatra having to play My Way over and over again to the point where he hates it. I'm sure the Cherry Bombs a few years down the line are like, if I have to play this Howard the Duck song one more time,
right?
We're bored of that.
Yeah. Beverly, Howard left you years ago. Go ahead.
They got like a Fleetwood Mac situation going on.
Right.
Fleetwood Duck.
So good. So that is where the movie ends and everything. One thing I wanted to ask you guys is if they made a sequel to this, like let's say this blew up and it was great, and they made a sequel, what do you think the sequel would be about? Like, or like because like I have thoughts, but what do you think would be about? Because you tell me what you think, and then I'll tell you my thoughts.
Well, it's just interesting because this is the second Marvel feature-length film ever, besides Red Sonja, and it's one of those movies that like a lot of people did not realize this was like a comic book movie. But yeah, like I'm sure easily like obvious answer would be just like take some cool story from like the comics, which I'm not too familiar with. But like if I were to do a plot, if I were to do something with Howard the Duck 2, obviously it has something to do with the Cherry Bombs being like world famous rock stars. And, you've got Howard and Lea Thompson's character probably like maybe on the rocks or the spark is gone or maybe they're like, maybe we're not even a thing. Maybe that's the thing is like have a female duck come down to earth so Howard cannot have this weird like bestiality relationship with somebody,
Right.
He can find like an actual girlfriend.
That's always been the thing. I'm like, bestiality is illegal. So if they did have a relationship, would she be arrested because he's technically an animal?
Yeah.
I'm like, there's so many. And like,
Right.
I'm being too logical.
No, the sequel is exactly like it's like a courtroom procedural about Lea Thompson's right to fuck this duck man.
See, my thought was what you said was they're
like
going
the
on a
movie
world.
Ted, where they're trying to have a baby and they're trying to get a surrogate.
There you go.
Right on. So my thought was it would be the world tour thing, but they just get caught up in like international spy shenanigans where Howard's all like, gotta stop this guy from stealing everybody's gold and all that stuff. So
we have to explore like other worlds, where like there's a world where everyone was lizards or everyone was
Right.
cockroaches or something.
I thought it would be great if we found out that Howard wasn't the only one.
Yeah. Yeah,
like
that's
maybe
right.
there were other ducks grabbed at the same time and they've just been in other parts of the world.
Sexy
where
female
they've been
duck.
hiding in the forest or something because they saw humans and were like, ew, gross.
Right. So, okay. Before I'm gonna wrap it up, unless you guys do you have anything else that you want to talk about this movie? Was there a scene that we missed or anything we didn't talk about that you want to talk about?
No, I mean this is one of those movies I've always been saying like I would not mind remaking or reattempting another Howard the Duck movie, because
Absolutely.
the first one was so wild, and I could totally see Howard nowadays like looking redesigned, looking more duck-like and more real.
But if they did it, I need the same principles though. I need the actors doing crazy shenanigans with their acting, like over the top or, improving things.
Can't take it so seriously.
It
has to be camp. It has to be camp. It can't be serious.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you guys don't have anything else, then we're gonna wrap it up and everything. But Stupenzo, where can everybody find you at?
Stupenzo on YouTube or Stupenzolicious on Twitter. I think I'm only a handful subs away from 600, which means I get to throw another karaoke party soon. But yeah, on my channel, we've got a lot of full-length and edited hilarious movie commentary / reaction videos. And then I've got weekly live streams, which are just, usually watching weird crap on the internet and laughing at it. So it's been fun. I think this Mother's Day, we're going to have, what was it? My mom might stop in, make an appearance.
Nice. Right on. So, Stupenzo, I'm going to ask you guys one more thing is, would you guys recommend this movie? Stupenzo, would you recommend this movie?
Absolutely. In fact, if you go back to last year, around summertime, around this time last year, I showed this movie to actually Andrew for the first time. He had never seen it. And it's one of the we watches we did. And he loved it. I think this is one of those movies where like you don't realize you're going to like it as much as you are. But I totally recommend this movie to people, especially if you like 80s movies.
For sure. Vetta, would you recommend it?
100%. I mean, at this point in my life, I'm the type of person that goes, if you don't like Howard the Duck or you haven't seen it, I don't think we can be friends.
Yeah, we're not going to mesh well.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend it. So, all right. Now, thank you guys so much for listening to us. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at BSDrunkPod to stay updated. If you do listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review, you guys. It really helps us out a lot, and we do appreciate it. We'll also be posting the video version of this to our YouTube channel, like I said before. So be sure to subscribe to us there and that's at YouTube and BS Drunk Movie Reviews. Also, we do have a Patreon if you guys are interested in that, and plenty of different levels to suit whatever needs you're interested in. And the link for that will be in the description down below. But most importantly, you guys, please don't forget to drink, recap, review, and repeat. Bye, you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.